Hi, I am so glad that you are interested in pursuing HR. I have my story that I want to share and how I pursued HR, and I'm really excited and happy to share. Um, HR is a really rewarding job, and of course, many people will know that it has been very challenging over the past 2.5 years between the pandemic and the need for greater social demands from organizations that employees expect, and rightfully so. There's also the great resignation that's happening. There's increased burnout. And so there are a lot of people challenges that are ready to be solved. And we need people, I think personally, from all types of backgrounds to help us out. I personally transitioned into HR about 5 years ago, and was the best decision for me. It's absolutely the career I was desiring. I got a lot from my previous role. I came from retail management. I had worked in retail management for about 3 years. Prior to that, I had worked in with that same retail company at their headquarters for some time as a sourcing and procurement specialist or analyst for on brand clothes. So very different from HR, but I tried to hone in on my transferable skills, which is something I'll chat about a little bit. So why did I transition? So I first transitioned because there were a lot of reasons. I had many. I think one, the schedule was grueling and demanding in retail, working nights, working weekends, also holidays, and personally it just became a lot. Like everybody's different, right? Some people like that change, and from week to week my schedule and each night was very different, right? There was not a lot of consistency, and so over time it just became a lot. And I had a desire to be a bit closer with my family and spend time with them, and with my schedule it just didn't allow that, especially having family out of most of my family out of town. And so that was a big factor for me. But the biggest factor was the fact that I got what I needed out of my previous positions, and I had a larger calling to something else. I found that I was really excited and had a lot of energy when I was working on the people priorities. So that was the engagement survey, that was motivating people during huddles, anything related to people processes. That's what made me excited. And so I also really enjoyed training and making training plans as a district trainer. Um, there were just This was just a lot of things that kind of led me to that pointed to the fact that my heart was in HR, because you can still enjoy some of those things and desire to be a manager of people, right? So, but I knew that I really wanted to have an impact more on the policies, how others are thinking about it, coaching others through that, and training others. And that was kind of an important distinction. So, if you are thinking about a career change into HR, it does take some introspection on the things that you're excited about, the things that you're drawn to, and your strengths, and kind of finding what's the overlap between those three things. And I think it will really help you understand what's your motivations and what roles will actually call to you and you might be successful in. Let's see what else. Um, I personally left my role without a job because that was the right decision for me at the time. I realized that might not be something that everyone is comfortable with. I did plan to do that, right? So I had saved and I had, um, made a plan to be able to do so. So you have to think about what might be the best choice for you. And so I bring that up only because it took me about 3 months to find my HR role. And I know, when you hear about transition stories, some people talk about 6 months, or even much longer. And so, I think one factor that helped that is that I was able to focus on my job search. But I do think that with the right focus, you can certainly find a job while being employed, or doing other things that you can certainly find something in a reasonable time frame. It's just about kind of carving out the time, and knowing what you're looking for. Um, is helpful. So I kind of boiled down my success, and my job search really to three things. I think first I talked about my strengths. I really knew what my strengths were. I really knew what was exciting to me, and I made sure that those strengths really came through in not only my resume but also in the examples that I shared in the interview process. And so that took, writing down all of my accomplishments, and really looking at those themes and what was important to share, and having a really solid story of not only why I was interested in transitioning to HR, but also what I brought to the table and my transferable skills. Um, it also took some resiliency, in this job search, because quickly I learned that not every while it was really obvious to me and I felt I could bring a lot to the table, not every company is going to see or probably have see the value in your particular skill set and how that translates to their organization. So I'm so glad that I didn't let that discourage me, because I had a couple of rejections that really set me back kind of emotionally. And I'm really, really glad I didn't deter my determination to get into HR, because like I said, quickly after I bounced back from those, I found a job, and I've been really successful in HR. I've been promoted 3 times in the last 4 years, and been asked to step into interim director level roles. So I'm just glad I bet on myself and I didn't let others deter me. What else? The third thing is community. So, I'm glad, some of you are already finding community, but it's really important during any job change, to find community that can help you and assist you, give you some guidance and feedback, and some support, because it is hard to transition no matter where you're going. And so community can really help you break through. And so I really leaned into my community, and without it, I know I would not have found the position that I had. So those are the big kind of buckets that I would say. Of course, there was a lot that I did in between to secure the position that I wanted. So from using LinkedIn to connect with complete strangers, to do informational interviews, to really find out, like, is generalist versus specialist for me, what would they recommend, learning about their past and how they did it. I learned about um, contract opportunities through informational interviews. I had to learn the HR language. I think it was really important, because that helped me articulate my transferable skills as well. Also, understanding the salary that I should expect as well, with my experience and what's typical in that type of position. So there's a lot of course, tactical things that I had to do and that were really helpful. But I think, first and foremost, it's the mindsets, on the career change, the community, and the resiliency that are going to be really important. So for those that are interested in transitioning from like healthcare, which I think is really, really relevant, and like I mentioned, I think that we need an HR people from all different backgrounds to come into this career, because there are a multitude of problems that need diversity of thought, and you can only get that from people who have different types of experience. So with people who are coming from healthcare, for example, there's ways to go into a specialist kind of arena. There's ways to go into a generalist arena, and there are some really great transferable skills there. So right off the bat, I can think of, if you want to be a specialist, you may find yourself gravitating towards health and benefits for transitioning into a specialist area where you can. And there's so many different aspects of health and benefits. It doesn't have to be all about compensation, but it can be. Doesn't have to always be about like health insurance. Some health and benefits positions or specialist positions are going to be helping people understand if they qualify for ADA accommodations, right, based on what they're going through. And I see that increasing over time because a lot of people are dealing with stress in the workplace, and so by um, federal law, we're obligated to support people who are stressing from mental, overworked or overstressed, or mental other mental capacities that they need assistance with. It could be helping people go on leave of absence while they're pregnant, or have an injury on the job, things like that. So those are other opportunities as a specialist. For generalists, if you want to kind of do more full wide range of HR responsibilities, you can certainly break in by just going into HR in a healthcare realm, right? And it doesn't have to be specifically where you are. So if you're in a hospital, you could certainly go to a nursing home. You could, there's smaller clinics that have multiple chains where you could do that. Therapists chains as well, where they look for HR that really can relate to their clients, and that your client, right, are nurses, practitioners, nurse practitioners and other people in other fields. So you would really be seen as a great advocate for those individuals because you understand what they're going through on a day-to-day basis. So those are some things to think about. Um, and I think, lastly, what I say is that if you believe that you have the strengths and abilities to be in HR, then whoever you're working with or interviewing with will also believe that. So I think it's really important, if this is something that's you're really excited about, then you should go for it and not think twice about it. And I think you'll just have to do those small steps along the way.